Ever notice how you're the friend everyone calls during a crisis, but when you're falling apart, you just don't tell anyone? You'll spend 3 hours walking someone through their breakup, then go home and silently cry in the shower like it's a scheduled appointment. Meanwhile, some people will literally text, "I'm sad," and have 5 friends show up with snacks. Why can some of us fix everyone else's problems, but can't even admit when we need help? Turns out, it's not about being strong. It's about what you learned to survive when you were way too young to understand it. What most people don't realize is that this pattern doesn't come from adulthood at all. It's rooted in the earliest moments when your brain was still figuring out what safety meant. Research shows that kids learn emotional rules long before they learn language. If the emotional climate around you felt unstable, tense, or unpredictable, your nervous system adapted fast. You became the one who stayed calm, stayed helpful, stayed quiet, because that was the role that kept things from spiraling. And when a child discovers that being easy or useful earns connection, they cling to that strategy with everything they have. That's how you end up growing into an adult who can comfort others effortlessly, but freezes the moment someone tries to comfort you. Somewhere deep inside, your brain still believes that expressing your needs threatens the bond. Here's where it gets interesting. Psychologists call this role reversal emotional parentification. It's when a child becomes the steady one, the regulator, the fixer. Not because they're mature, but because the adults around them didn't have the capacity to be. Studies show that kids in these environments become hyper-attuned to others' feelings. You notice the tone shift, the sigh, the distant stare. Your body reacts before your mind even understands what's happening. But while this skill makes you incredibly empathetic, it comes with a hidden cost. You lose connection to your own emotional world. You learn to scan others, not yourself. You learn to soothe others, not yourself. You learn to disappear, gently, politely, invisibly. And by the time you reach adulthood, you're praised for being strong, for being dependable, for being the person who doesn't need anything. Inside, though, that strength feels less like confidence and more like a locked door. Let's talk about why asking for help feels so threatening. Research on attachment shows that if you grew up with inconsistent emotional responses, your brain equates vulnerability with risk. When you open up, you're not just sharing a feeling, you're exposing a part of yourself you had to hide to survive. That's why even simple support can feel overwhelming. It's not the support that scares you, it's the unfamiliar sensation of being held instead of holding. You might also notice patterns like these. You minimize your struggles. You apologize for being upset. You convince yourself others have it worse. Or you wait until you're breaking before you consider reaching out. These aren't flaws. They're adaptations that worked when you were young and powerless. But adaptations aren't permanent. The brain is far more flexible than people think. Healing this pattern doesn't start with forcing yourself to ask for help. It starts with giving yourself permission to have needs at all. Many people who grew up too fast don't realize their emotional world is running on a delayed timeline. The child who never got comfort is still inside you, waiting for someone, you, to acknowledge what they went through. So here's the real shift. Instead of trying to be less strong, start being more honest. Honest about exhaustion. Honest about loneliness. Honest about the parts of you that feel heavy but never had a place to land. When you speak those truths, even quietly, your nervous system begins to relearn safety. You stop believing that your value comes from being invincible. You start believing it comes from being human. And yes, the change is uncomfortable at first. When you spent your childhood keeping everything together, letting someone else carry even one corner of the weight feels unnatural. But discomfort isn't danger, it's rewiring. In time, you learn something no one taught you growing up. You deserve support simply because you exist. Not because you're useful, not because you're strong, not because you earned it. Because you're human. And humans are not built to self-rescue forever. If you grew up too fast, this is your turning point. You can keep living in survival mode, or you can begin the slow, powerful work of letting yourself be seen. Not the version that fixes everyone else, the version that finally gets to exhale.